You know, one minute it looked like the US and Iran were barreling towards a full-on collision. And then, just like that, a ceasefire. But here's the crazy part. What if only one side actually agreed to it? That's the absolutely bizarre story we're getting into today.
And this right here, this single headline was like a pebble tossed into a pond, sending these massive ripples through, well, everything. International relations, global markets, you name it. So let's follow those ripples back to the source and try to figure out what on earth was really going on.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, the shock announcement itself. Then we'll get into the two very different stories that emerged. After that, we'll look at how the markets freaked out, how the world responded, and finally, what this all means for this very uncertain piece. Let's get into it.
All right, Section 1. Let's start at the very beginning. What exactly was announced? I mean, what did this initial report that caught everyone so completely off guard actually say?
So the key thing to understand here is just how specific this was. This wasn't some grand peace treaty, not at all. It was an abrupt, 5-day halt to planned U.S. strikes against Iranian power plants. Just 5 days. A temporary pause for sure, but a really significant one.
And that's exactly why it was such a shock to the system. You have to remember, tensions had been ratcheting up for weeks. I mean, everybody, pundits, politicians, you name it, they were all bracing for impact. And then boom, out of the clear blue sky comes this message of de-escalation. The surprise? It was totally universal.
But just as fast as that news broke, the entire story just fractured. What came next was, honestly, a masterclass in how to create global confusion.
And here it is, the core of the problem. On one side, you have the U.S. president saying there are productive conversations happening, that things are going very well. And at the exact same time, Iranian media is just flatly denying it. They're saying, nope, no direct or indirect talks between us and Tehran. The world was literally being told two completely opposite things were happening.
And Iran's denial? Oh, it wasn't just a simple no. It got way more theatrical than that. A spokesman for the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, decided to mockingly throw President Trump's own famous catchphrase right back at him. So this isn't just a denial, right? This is a public taunt. It's defiant. So where does that leave everyone else? Well, key allies like the UK are caught right in the middle, trying to figure out what to do. Their official response is this masterfully cautious statement. They welcome any reports of productive talks. See what they did there? It's a super subtle diplomatic move. They're acknowledging the confusion, but still trying to keep hope alive.
Now, this war of words didn't just stay in the news cycle. No, it sent an immediate jolt through the entire global economy. Because, let's be real, when geopolitics gets this messy, money moves, and it moves fast.
And the impact was instant. Just the possibility of de-escalation was enough to send global oil prices plummeting by over 10%. Think about that. The threat of war had been propping prices up, and just a tiny whisper of peace sent them crashing down.
And it wasn't just oil, not by a long shot. Gold, that classic safe haven asset that investors pile into when things get scary, it suffered a record-breaking single-day drop. We're talking $436 an ounce. For a hot minute there, it really looked like the market was betting everything on peace.
And this effect just rippled through the whole precious metals sector. Silver, platinum, they all took a nosedive. And this is what's so wild. It shows you how powerfully the financial world reacted to the news of a ceasefire, even while one of the countries involved was screaming from the rooftops that it wasn't even happening.
So, with the situation being this murky and the stakes being this incredibly high, you can bet the international community did not just sit on its hands. What happened next was a frantic, global scramble of diplomatic activity.
All of a sudden, the phone lines between world capitals were just lighting up. You had regional powers like Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan jumping in, plus the heavy hitters like Russia, China, and the EU. Everyone was scrambling to get a handle on the situation.
And man, things move fast. You had Turkey, Egypt, and Pakistan trying to talk to both sides. Russia's foreign minister gets on the phone with his Iranian counterpart. China comes out with a pretty stark warning to the U.S. to back off. The EU starts planning emergency meetings. It was just this absolute full-court press from the rest of the world trying to pull everyone back from the edge.
And we saw some really specific attempts to mediate, too. Take Pakistan, for instance. Prime Minister Shehbaz called Iran, and the message was basically, we're with you, but you guys have to talk. You have to de-escalate. It's a classic example of a regional player trying to put out the fire.
Okay, so let's take a breath. After the shocking announcement, the flat-out denials, the wild market swings, and the global diplomatic scramble, where are we? Well, we're left in this state of just total uncertainty.
This sequence of events really sums up the whole mess, doesn't it? Step 1. A possible way out of conflict is announced. Step 2. One of the key players says, nope, not happening. Step 3. The markets ignore the denial and react anyway. And that leaves us with Step 4. The entire world is left holding its breath, wondering what's going to happen when that 5-day clock finally hits zero.
And this is so important. Even with all this talk of ceasefires, this quote from an Iranian official speaking to Turkey really tells you everything. He's saying the insecurity in the Strait of Hormuz is a direct result of U.S. and Israeli aggression. That tells you the fundamental problems, the deep-seated mistrust. None of that has gone away. It's all still simmering right below the surface.
And that really brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? This 5-day pause, was it a genuine, if totally bizarre, first step towards real peace? Or was it just a tactical move? You know, a brief, deceptive calm before a much, much bigger storm? And honestly, the world is still waiting for the answer.